Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Beach Haven Borough Council to order. It is currently 6 p.m. on the dot on Monday, May 10th, 2021. So would you please join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building and on the borough website and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Ball-Miller. Here. Dr. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Rutherford. Here. Mayor Lambert.
Here.
Cash receipts in the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Colleen, you had some announcement, right?
Oh, yes. Sherry asked me to share this information with you, and it's kind of exciting. Beginning Monday, May 17th, the Beach Haven Municipal Building will be open to the public. Masks will be required inside the Borough Hall, and all visitors will be required to utilize our temperature and questionnaire kiosk via smartphone before entering. Social distancing will remain in place. The Thursday, May 27th, 4 p.m. meeting of council will be open to the public and available via Zoom. Capacity in person will be limited based on social distancing requirements. Again, masks will be required inside the Borough Hall, and all visitors will be required to utilize a temperature and questionnaire kiosk before entering. We appreciate your patience and compliance. Look forward to welcoming everybody back.
Cash receipts in the current fund account for the period of April 1st to April 30th were $2,287,357.61. Cash disbursements in the current fund account for the month of April 2021 totaled $1,266,752.94. Cash balance in the current fund account as of this period totaled $13,147,857.68. Cash receipts in the water utility account for the period of April 1st through April 30th, 2021 were $228,059.04. Cash disbursements in the water utility account for the month of April 2021 totaled $57,628.02, and the cash balance in the water utility account as of April 30th was $4,338,993.57, submitted by our treasurer, Shari Bowler. I have minutes for approval this evening without formal reading, the agenda meeting of April 29th, 2021, and also an executive session of the same date.
Did everybody have a chance to look over the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody all right with them?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Bruce, I'll hand the rest over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Sherry. Mayor, if I may update the council. Next on the agenda are ordinances 2021-04C and 5C, which deal with the background checks for fire and first aid, which obviously we've been dealing with for a couple of months now. I just want to report that I was able to speak with Chief Salazar and separately speak with counsel for the first aid squad, Ms. Shackleton. So in that regard, just to kind of give a little bit of an update and background, the Borough Code as it currently exists provides for background checks for first aid squad. It does not provide that for the fire department. The fire department, not to put words in the chief's mouth, but they were supportive. We worked together, and I'm going to recommend that the council introduce an ordinance including background checks for first aid or for fire. Like I said, the background checks for first aid were already in existence. And so to that extent, background checks help maintain the public's trust in fire and first aid and takes measures to ensure that the volunteers do not have criminal histories. So I think that is good public policy. What the ordinance did not provide, though, was for a waiver if there was some sort of rehabilitation or anything was demonstrated. So speaking with counsel for the first aid squad, and this would also be applicable to the fire department, there is also a waiver provision if any member or applicant who would otherwise be barred has showed sufficient rehabilitation or remoteness of the offense or whatever. The offense just isn't applicable anymore, like a marijuana offense from 20 years ago, for example. That's something that the council can waive. So I'm going to recommend that the council adopt a resolution rescinding 04 and 5 and introducing ordinance 2021-18C, which you have a copy of.
So do you have to give a rescinding resolution a number, or do you just? Okay.
Do we need any discussion? I mean, do we need a vote to first rescind the two ordinances that stand and then?
Yeah.
And then this will be a first reading for the new one?
This is the first reading for the new one, there'll be, publication and then public hearing
Okay,
again.
right, okay.
So I guess we ask if any of the council members have any concern about rescinding 04 and 05?
No,
No. Would somebody, do we have to do it separately?
You might as well do it separately, it seems like the conversation's going that way, so, is there a motion to rescind ordinances 04C and 05C?
I move to rescind 4C and 5C.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Ordinances 2021-04C and -5C are rescinded. So if the council's pleasure, you can introduce for first reading ordinance 2021-18C, which by title is an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Fire Company, and Chapter 13, First Aid Squad in relation to background checks for volunteer members.
Okay. Basically, this is the same,
Use your mic.
oh, I'm sorry. Basically. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to turn this off. It's a spam. Okay. Excuse me. Basically, I spent a lot of time on this, and and I know you met with the fire chief, and basically these ordinances are pretty much the same from what, and I did go carefully through the new one that you just wrote, and basically all we're doing is allowing some flexibility, I think, in the requirements, allowing somebody that perhaps had could not have gotten on the fire company or the first aid squad based on the old ordinance, but now if, for example, they've had a clean record as far as maybe driving and that sort of thing goes over so many years, and that they're specifically stated the number of years, they could then join the fire company or the first aid squad. Am I correct on that, Bruce?
You are correct. The only part that's an addition is for fire only, did not have a background check section.
Yes, right, yes, I got that. But basically, that's, with the first aid squad, that's really the only change.
Actually, there's two changes for first aid. One, providing a waiver for the background check.
Right.
And then the way our ordinance was drafted when it was adopted in 2005, provided that the background check would be done by Long Beach Township Police Department or other appropriate agency. We took the proposed ordinances eliminating the reference to Long Beach Township and also authorizing any entity outside private business which is engaged in the background check business and also approved by the first aid squad's insurance company, they would also be a valid entity to do the background check.
Right, I did see that you crossed out the Long Beach Township. In any way, does this take away any autonomy from the first aid squad?
This does not change, in terms of eligibility for membership, this does not change the way the code or eligibility for membership has existed for the last 16 years.
The first aid squad still has the right to deny a member that they don't seem fit to serve on the first aid squad?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and we're not overriding the first aid squad?
No.
In the past, have we approved members of I remember approving fire members, volunteer fire members constantly, but the first aid squad's smaller and they don't have as many members. I don't remember approving the first aid squad members in the past. Did we approve the first aid squad members in the past? We didn't,
No, I've never,
but we will be now.
no, that's not part of the ordinance.
Well, the part of the ordinance is the council has the right to ask for a background check. Is that correct? I can pull it up online, but I just read through it.
The ordinance as it's been in existence has required a background check and a report to the borough.
Right.
It sounds like, and my understanding is that that generally has not occurred, but that has been the existing ordinance in town for, since 2005.
Right, but I think the wordage in there, it says the council,
It does.
and that's the only thing I think the first aid squad's unhappy about. That particular verbiage. I just
Talking about the verbiage for the waiver,
the waiver, for the
Oh,
waiver.
for the waiver.
Oh, okay,
not for approval of membership. We
Right.
don't approve membership.
okay. All right. I'm sure there'll be some
Basically,
discussion.
my understanding of the most recent request from the First Aid Squad is that they be granted the authority to waive the requirements of our ordinance rather
Exactly.
than that coming to the borough. I mean, obviously, considering starting at a point where we agree, I think that background checks are good public policy for volunteers in fire and first aid. I mean, to have anyone other than the governing body relinquish the need for that would obviate even having the ordinance.
Okay, that explains that clearly to me then. Okay, and this is first reading, so we'll have no discussion, but there will be discussion before we approve the second reading.
Yes, there'll be
So-
a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The council for first aid was amenable to this iteration of the ordinance?
I don't want to speak with her, but, my understanding was yes.
Okay.
Yes. At least as of the last time that she and I spoke.
Okay.
So do we make a motion then to approve? Okay.
Motion to introduce 2021-18.
Is there a motion to introduce 2021-18C?
Correct.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes?
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
All right, so we'll proceed through the agenda as listed. 2021 6CA is an ordinance amending Chapter 145 Pickleball Courts Municipal of the Borough Code of Borough Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to limit the hours of play, the number of players, and the fees for passes at Nelson Avenue Pickleball Courts. Final reading.
Okay, as final reading, we're going to open it to the public, and please raise your hand, and please confine your comments to 3 minutes. If you can't raise your hand somehow or other, make yourself known so Sharon can call on you. Thank you.
Seeing none.
All right, if there are no comments, then would somebody like to make a motion to accept ordinance 2021-6CA?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes?
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-13C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 212 zoning of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to more clearly define porches and ductless systems. First reading.
Did everybody have a chance to review this one?
It made sense. I mean, this came back from the land use board. I think it makes sense. I think it's clear and defined what these things mean, and I think that's important.
Actually, I think we can thank Mrs. Bowmiller for a large part of this one.
Mhm.
So everybody's okay with this one? All right.
I move to accept this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-14C, an ordinance repealing Chapter 27, Personnel of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to repeal Chapter 27 of the Borough Code entitled Personnel, effective April 1st, 2021, first reading. Bruce, do you want to explain?
Is this the one where we're pulling it out that we
Right.
talked about?
Yeah, we're gonna adopt by resolution. Sorry, I'm having microphone trouble. We're gonna adopt by resolution retroactive to April 1st because this ordinance wouldn't be effective until sometime in July anyway.
Okay.
The municipal excess liability carrier and the joint insurance fund have approved new employee handbooks and personnel manuals, and so the borough's gonna adopt that. And actually it gives you more flexibility because now you can just change parts of your, the personnel section of the manual by resolution rather than adopting an ordinance.
Okay.
So this is basically a housekeeping.
Pretty much, substantively, you're not changing anything.
Right, okay. Any questions or concerns about 2021-14C?
Oh.
No? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-15C, an ordinance amending Chapter 167, Site Plan Review of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, concerning expiration of site plan approval and applicability determination from the NJDEP. First reading.
I think this is great, and I'm sure Jamie's partly responsible for this.
guys get as close to
People
your mic
ask
as
me
you
these
can.
questions.
You have to get closer.
Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns about 2021-15C?
This has the time frames in it too, right? Yeah, okay, I
Yes.
see that. No questions.
Okay, is there a motion to approve 2021-15C?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-16 is the 2021 salary ordinance to set the annual base salary and wage ranges for the officers and employees of the Borough of Beach Haven. First reading.
I assume everybody had a chance to look it over?
Yeah.
And again, are there any questions or concerns, comments? No?
Good idea.
Is there a motion then to approve 2021-16?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Finally, ordinance 2021-17, an ordinance of the Borough of Beach Haven authorizing the execution of an encroachment easement agreement to grant an encroachment easement agreement to Bay Village for deck awnings at Bistro 14. First reading.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve 2021-17?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 107, returning piling bonds. Resolution 113, awarding a contract to Crest Construction for the 2021 fire hydrant replacement project. Resolution 114, returning dumpster bonds. Resolution 115, approving amendments to the multi-jurisdictional program for public information, which is part of the National Flood Insurance Community Rating System. Resolution 116, authorizing a sidebar agreement with Teamsters Local Number 97. 117, opposing the rate increases requested by New Jersey Natural Gas. 118, authorizing application to the Department of Community Affairs for a recreation grant to improve basketball courts at Walsh Field in the Borough of Beach Haven. And Resolution 119, rescinding an agreement with Southern Ocean County Chamber of Commerce for use of Taylor Avenue.
Okay, once again, has everybody had a chance to look them over? Any questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like to see pulled from the resolution list? No? In that case, is there a motion to accept the resolutions as read?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
I have a bill list this evening in the amount of $1,363,776.78.
Everybody have a chance to check out the bills?
Yep.
Everybody did their homework. Okay, in that case, is there a motion to accept and approve the approval of the bills?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
That's all I have.
All right, looks like we're down to public comment.
Could I say one thing? Last time we talked about the chemical, the glyphosate and chemicals that are used on our properties. And we have some experts, but they're not going to be at this meeting, experts that are scientists that study this. So we'll arrange for that, hopefully in the next 2 meetings. The one doctor who is studying this has 2 Zoom calls at the same time tonight. So this is a big issue. We did a bit more research on it. I know there's some people that want to talk tonight. I just want to, during the general discussion or the public comment, and there are a couple of people that are involved in alternate types of weed control. Basically, I think we've changed the strategy of what we want to do with this, but I think it's better to wait and hear from the experts that want to talk about this. But in general, in talking to some of the organizations that are working in New Jersey and other states, they don't think we should ban a specific chemical, but we should follow some guidelines or at least recommend them. So I just want to forewarn everybody on council that there will be some people within their 3-minute limit of speaking to this issue, and there will be a couple experts that are basically in the business of developing safer weed killers and pesticides. And I know one of the main things that we're concerned about in Beach Haven is poison ivy. We need things, safe things that'll kill poison ivy. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're now opening to public comment. As I said, 3 minutes, raise your hand, make yourself known. And Sherry, we'll let you go to it there.
Okay, if you would like to be heard for public comment, if you're able to raise an electronic hand. If you're new to Zoom, under the participants tab, you can choose to raise a hand. That way we can see you. Also, if you check the More tab, I see some confusion. If you see the tab that says More, if you check that, you might be able to raise a hand or give a thumbs up or something like that on your screen. Okay. George Salazar.
Yes, thank you, Sherry. I just wanted to say that I'm really appreciative.
Correct for me, George.
George Salazar, Beach Haven Fire Company, 210 North Delaware Avenue. Just wanted to say thank you very much to Mr. Padula for working with us, and we look forward to working together in the future as well if anything should arise.
Thank you, George. Michael Reed.
Good evening, Mike Reed from Cinetech and Branch Creek. I'm one of the people here to talk about glyphosate alternatives. I have my boss here as well, Nate Clemmer. And so I do not know at what time you wish us to go, but we're going to take a little bit more than 3 minutes of your time, if that is possible.
Nancy, did you want to hear from Michael Reed for more than 3 minutes?
I'm having trouble hearing could, those of you that are talking on Zoom, this is one of the problems with Zoom. It works great if everybody's on Zoom, but it sometimes doesn't work as great when it's, so if you could speak up a little bit. I have hearing aids in and.
There's a Mr. Reed, Michael Reed, who wants to speak on glyphosate.
Yes.
But he indicated his remarks would be more than 3 minutes.
Well,
We've spent a lot of time. Could we try to limit it to 3, just, and then come back? Because there's going to be more experts coming later. If we could maybe, because we've spent a considerable amount of time, and I'm sure as an expert you have something important to say. But please do the best you can to limit.
Mr. Reed, what the company are you from?
Branch Creek,
this is a company that develops non-toxic pesticides. I guess you'd still say pesticides. Michael, could you, try to limit your comments to 3 minutes? If you go a little bit over, I don't think it'll matter.
Yeah, but I'll let you know when you hit that time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Reed.
not a problem. Thank you for letting me join you tonight. I work for Branch Creek. We are a company that is dedicated to finding alternative options, finding kinder, gentler chemistries to control pest problems. And one of the things I was going to talk about tonight is some alternatives that are out there to glyphosate. But just like you were saying earlier on, you don't want to make a decision just based upon just dropping a particular product. You want to look at what is the information that's out there, figure out what are the best choices that we have that are out there to replace Roundup. Now Roundup is a good bare ground post-emergent product. It does a good job, but when we're looking at chemistries, one of the things that we always consider before choosing a product or a criteria that we use at Branch Creek is we use something called the Cornell Environmental Impact Quotient. Basically, the impact quotient was developed by Cornell to give pesticide applicators the data needed to make better decisions on what products that they were going to use to control pests. The calculator looks at how the pesticide affects the environment, how the pesticide affects the applicator, as well as the homeowner. And they use the data that was put together by the EPA, by toxicologists, by microbiologists, all these other people to come up with a number. And so the lower the number, the safer the product that's out there. And so I use that as one of my criteria when choosing options, as well as OMRI, or the Organic Material Research Institute. OMRI is a self-funded institute that basically certifies products to the certified organic standards that were developed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So we use those two criteria to kind of give us a better understanding of what products we want to use. So if we look at a product like Ranger Pro, Roundup, or glyphosate, they're all one and the same. If we look at it, it has an environmental impact quotient of, on the low side, 45.5, versus its high rate, which is 222.5. Now, to give you an understanding, the closer to zero, the safer the product. So if we compare it to other products that are out there that are bare ground post-emergent control products, we can look at products like glufosinate, which is an ammonium salt product. That product has an environmental impact quotient of 12.4, or a significant reduction compared to Roundup. And if we look at other products that are out there, there's another one called flumoxazine, and that product has an impact quotient of 12.4. So they're all used to do the same thing, but they all have a different impact on the environment. And so I like using science to make my decisions on what products to use and what products not to use. You know, we
Thank you,
have.
Mr. Reed.
Yes, ma'am.
minutes.
I'm sorry, what?
I said that's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jennifer Jamie? You want to unmute yourself and then state your name and address for the record.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. I'm ready. Jennifer Jamie. I live on Cedar Bonnet Island. I grew up in Surf City. I'm a Southern Regional graduate, 99. My brothers and sisters volunteer in Surf City as well. I want to talk about cannabis. I heard that Beach Haven is entertaining the idea of a delivery service, perhaps. I want to become a partner with the town. I want to have a successful business in the town. I want to run a delivery service, possibly a storefront. I'm a social equity applicant. I'm a Cuban woman. I would be running, the license that I would be applying for is for a 2,500 square foot facility. That's not very large. I do know of a space in Beach Haven that I might possibly be able to get. But I just want the town to know if even if I'm not the right partner, you don't pick me and I don't get a license, it's really something to consider. You're missing out on a lot of money if you vote no and vote it out. The taxes are going to be the New Jersey recreational sales tax, the regular 6.625, the New Jersey excise tax. That's going to be based on weight and the price of product in New Jersey. So essentially, we're giving ourselves an insurance policy that even though the price may drop in the future of cannabis, it's going to be expensive when it first comes out. It's going to drop, but because we're basing it on weight, that you're not losing taxes. And then there's going to be the local tax, which you guys can put in. It'll be up to a 2% tax. You're talking about on a tiny facility like mine, I would be allowed to have 1,000 pounds a month come through my facility. If I even sold 250 pounds, you would make $80,000 to $120,000 a month just on that 2% tax, just for a tiny 2,500 square foot facility like the one that I want to run. I've been to California. I dated a man, I know Mrs. Lambert, I don't know if you're remembering, from California the past 3 years back and forth. They do it beautiful. It's secure. It's not ruining their towns. I spent a lot of time in Newport Beach, very expensive town. They have cannabis there. And I'm just sad that we're probably going to vote it down. I mean, 508 out of the 1,000 voters in Beach Haven voted yes. Barnegat said no. Lacey said no. Waretown is saying no. Stafford's talking about it tomorrow. I'll be at that meeting. I hope to convince them at least to not say no yet and consider it. Because if Stafford says no and you guys are the only ones to say yes, you're cornering the market. I mean, there's no other town around us that's saying yes. We'd have to drive over an hour. It's already here. And another thing that upsets me, it's already here and you're not making money on it. People are having pop-up delivery services that are illegal. And I really hope that you don't vote it down.
Thank you, Jennifer. Andrea Weedling?
Thank you. My name is Andrea Weedling, and I've been living in Beach Haven with my husband, Chris, and our 3 boys since November 2017. But my husband, Chris, has been vacationing with his parents and his brothers and his cousins in Beach Haven his entire life.
What's your address in Beach Haven, Andrea?
329 Essex Avenue.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And actually that property his parents owned and built the home that we currently live in 2004. Our 3 kids also attend the school. They're in 4th, 2nd, and in the pre-K program at Beach Haven School. And we're very committed to the community and the life that we've built here. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about Chris and his background with regard to cannabis. I'm originally from Mercer Island, Washington. And I ended up going to Boston College, and it was there that I ultimately ended up in New York City, volunteer teaching there and working in the South Bronx, and that's where Chris and I originally met. And as newlyweds in New York City, I was pursuing my master's, he was working in finance. We welcomed kids and a dog, and ultimately our life changed as life does. And after 15 years in the finance industry, Chris moved and transitioned into the cannabis industry almost exclusively, where he's been since 2013. He also provided a full list of all of his cannabis-related endeavors to Sherry Mason, but just a couple of highlights to let you know. He's been involved in capital raises of over $100 million and involvement in projects that have led to our owning private equity cannabis licenses in Connecticut, Nevada, Minnesota, and Vancouver, Canada. Chris has acted as a CFO, a consultant, and board member to a number of entities, and he's currently working with other New Jersey groups to prepare for licensing, including minority-owned, women-owned, and disabled veteran-owned groups, to which he's lending his experience and ability to raise capital. And we're hoping for the opportunity to further work with the borough of Beach Haven. And we figure the best first step would be an education session, working with one of the New Jersey-based attorneys that Chris currently works with. They've also presented to numerous municipalities to talk about how the new cannabis law affects the town's rights, and the potential tax revenue, and also what it is that we can bring to a business here that has a positive impact on the community. As a Black woman married to one of the country's most prominent cannabis consultants, we think we have some unique advantages that will make our application stand out, including 15% of all licenses have to be awarded to more minority-owned businesses, 15% have to be awarded to women-owned or disabled-owned veteran businesses, and 35% of the licenses will be micro licenses, which require 2 years of residency in New Jersey. You have to live in the municipality where you will operate at the time of your application. And the initial square footage covers land that's less than 2,500 square feet. So we just want to highlight that our working on this project is really about collaboration with the town. We're committed. As I said, we have our kids go to school here. We're really happy here. Our family comes to visit us all the time. They love to be here. And someone that we've also partnered with is Bruce Ware, who used to own and operate the Sunglass Menagerie, who I think is also going to be speaking, or may have potentially already spoken earlier in this meeting. But we're very committed and very interested, and certainly hoping to go forward in partnership with the town. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of background noise, and it could be that somebody out there in Zoom land has two devices going at the same time in the same room. Sometimes it makes that loud noise. It was really hard to hear because there was this weird noise in the background the whole time. So just...
I don't hear it now.
It went away. So it could have been, Andrea, something when you were talking that maybe... Yeah, when you start talking. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Deb Whitcraft?
Thank you, sir. Deb Whitcraft, 528 Dock Road, Beach Haven. I'm also the president of the Board of Trustees of the Beach Haven First Aid Squad. I would just like to correct Mr. Padula's comment with respect to our agreement with this latest draft of the ordinance. Our attorney has not suggested that we are in agreement with this. Although a lot of progress has been made on this, I was in office in 2005. I was the mayor of the town when the original ordinance was passed. And as Nancy pointed out, squad members are not approved by Borough Council or, when I was in office, the Board of Commissioners. We answer to the State of New Jersey Department of Health. So the only issue that we have with this new draft of the ordinance is that the Borough Council may, by resolution, waive any provision of Section 13.2.1 or 13.2.2. Since council doesn't approve our membership to begin with, they are not in a position to waive any provisions of criminal history and motor vehicle background checks. There is no one in a better position to review these background checks than members of the First Aid Squad who work with these people and who are certainly very cognizant of the need for safety for our patients as well as to our fellow EMS workers. So our only objection to this ordinance is that the waiver must be given by the Board of Trustees of the Beach Haven First Aid Squad and not by council, because we are in a much better position following the guidelines of the New Jersey Department of Health to determine the safety of our membership. So I just wanted to correct what Mr. Padula said, because our attorney, Kate Shackleton, clearly reflected our discomfort with this provision of the ordinance. So I just wanted to state on the record that we have an issue with the waiver provision. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Fields.
Hi there, this is Lisa Fields, 301 Dolphin. I want to thank you for letting us have public comment to continue the conversation about the banning or not banning, really the adoption of our organic land program in Beach Haven. I would welcome us to have further education on the matter and bring in further experts. I believe that this is more of a prevention. We don't know the impact per se of what's going on with the chemicals that are being sprayed all over Beach Haven, and it's been very discerning to me to be living in Beach Haven year round right now and seeing trucks pull up across the street from my house with people with service people with full PPE garb on their hands and their face, spraying chemicals out of a truck right about 100 yards from my house. And I see after it rains right now, if anyone walks around Beach Haven, you see the runoff, all the chemical spraying that's been going on because of the rain. You can see it forming in the gutters of Beach Haven. So I would welcome us to have further discussion about the impact, long-term impact of the chemical spraying that's going on in Beach Haven. And one of the things I was thinking of in the last council meeting, there was a discussion to adopt an ordinance, or was not adopted, about fireworks that were going to be set off during a wedding. And it was pushed back that the fireworks were going to be set off during a wedding because it was going to disrupt children's sleep. I would just think, and I would hope that the council would think about what's the best thing for our children in the future. I know you're going to think about this and make this best for the council and best for the Beach Haven Borough, but also think about the future of Beach Haven and the children and the people that live in Beach Haven. So I ask that we bring this up in further council meetings and bring additional experts into the committee to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Bruce? Bruce Lair?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Bruce Lair, 2810 West Avenue, Holgate. I'm a neighbor of Andrea and Chris Wielding, and I used to run Sunglass Menagerie. My brother and I had run Sunglass Menagerie for 37 seasons in Beach Haven and 5 other locations along the Jersey Shore. We sold our business in 2017 to one of our managers, and the business went out. So I'm sorry for those that are looking for Sunglass Menagerie, but we're hoping to make a comeback somewhere down the road here in a small way. But nevertheless, we support and are partnering with the Wieldings on the cannabis initiatives that we think are worth a lot. We've always been pro-business for Beach Haven, and I've never felt you should hold back, from Chowder Fest to tent sales to any good retail that makes sense, especially now that things are legal. It is a way to make money and to attract people. It's a natural for my business because people want to wear sunglasses when they're inebriated. Not that I would know anything about that. But we do support this business, and we would hope that you would take Chris and Andrea Wielding's requests and recommendations seriously. Chris, I've known for several years, and he's well-versed in finance and also the money side of the business, as Miss Jamie was earlier when she was talking about it. There's a giant potential in this business, and we're going to talk to Miss Jamie very soon because some people have the right idea. That's all I really wanted to say. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry I'm not on a camera, but I will look forward to meeting you all some point.
Great. Thank you, Bruce. Jennifer, I see you, but I want to make sure that I accommodate everyone else before we hear someone twice, okay? Anyone else with comment they'd like to share? Any other member of the public looking to make a comment? You can raise an electronic hand. You can also unmute yourself and make yourself known. Megan Maskell?
Yes, David Fields. I'd like to say something too, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead, Megan, if you could just hang on a second. Go ahead, Mr. Fields, state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is David Fields. I live at 301 Dolphin Avenue. I just wanted to echo my wife's sentiment, Lisa. We're really concerned about, these chemicals being sprayed around, and very alarmed to the point where, we are expecting a pace with which government to react to this, even though it's sort of old news. I think we're very concerned that some action get taken ultimately. As Lisa noted, and I always want to point it out that I was seeing a lot of runoff occurring as well. And we're seeing these people in bunny suits walking around spraying stuff, and why are our children running around in this stuff as well? And these public spaces at a minimum. And it seems as though the town could take action for itself. I think we're going to create more advocacy, irrespective of what people sort of as convenience. Right now, these are chemicals of convenience, but we think it is such a terrible cost as we're seeing a higher incidence rate of people getting sick. And I don't think it's of any ill intention by anybody, but it's a crisis which no one's talking about. And we would really like to have more time and not 3 minutes to inconvenience anyone, but to really talk this through more thoroughly. And we want action, and we want action now. It's something to pander about, but this is a serious matter. And we know that the council's taking this very seriously. We're being activists elsewhere within the other communities we live in. We're just extremely concerned for the health and safety and welfare of all of our friends as well. This is not somebody wins, someone loses. It's not a zero-sum game. It's something for all of us. And so we just think it makes common sense. So we appreciate your time. And we will continue looking forward to working with the committee and hopefully make Beach Haven a safer place than what it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Well, go ahead, Megan.
Oh, I'm not going to say too much. Megan Maskell, 316 Fairview Ave. Just that I'm a big supporter of this glyphosate, moving away from glyphosates. But we did have a revelation that instead of banning glyphosates and banning individual chemicals, we talked to some experts and they suggest that it's better to, instead of banning certain things, enforcing organic standards. So if we can adopt organic standards that are updated every year, it really helps a little bit better than banning individual chemicals. Ocean City, New Jersey just went organic. And we've actually heard that a lot of class action lawsuits are cropping up with Roundup, and a lot of I think they're starting to stack up, and it could really mitigate some issues like with the town, with any lawsuits that people could bring up with the town. And the science is on our side. And even Princeton is making steps in this direction to enforce organic land care standards. So that's it for me, but I just want to continue this conversation and keep moving towards this direction.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to be heard? Go ahead, Ms. Janey, you can speak again.
Oh, I was just going to say that I know Andrea said that you have to be a Beach Haven resident or in the town you're applying. I know they haven't.
Name and address for the record, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer Jamie, Cedar Bonnet Island. I was just going to say, I know Andrea said you had to be a Beach Haven resident, but it was my understanding that you have to be a New Jersey resident, and for social equity applicant, it can be your town or surrounding town that you can apply for. So Beach Haven is a surrounding town to me as well. But I just am very curious about when the town plans on voting or talking about this again, or when we're going to discuss it further. And I would love to meet with people. If you have any questions, I would love to meet with you, Mr. Blanford, or anyone on the council. I would love to meet with you.
Okay. Thank you. We're not sure that discussion is going to continue. Andrea, did you want to be heard once more? And then we're going to close the floor.
Sure. I just wanted to add that the law means you have the micro retail license. You have to live in the town or a town that borders the town that you're applying to. So immediately next, adjacent.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Nicole Walton.
Nicole's muted.
Nicole, are you able to unmute yourself?
I apologize.
There you are. Okay, state name and address for the record.
Nicole Walton, 220 Iroquois Avenue. I just wanted to say that I hope we can continue the conversation about glyphosate. I agree with Lisa Fields and the supporters of continuing the conversation about either banning glyphosate or other options. Thank you.
All right. Is that it? Thank you. Ms. Fields, I believe we've already heard from you. Any other member of the public wish to be heard? Mayor, did you want to entertain more double, triple?
Has everybody had a chance to speak twice that wanted to speak twice?
Lisa Fields spoke once, I believe, was it her husband who also spoke?
Yeah.
It just seemed like they were getting into a, I don't want to, wasn't adversarial back and forth, but almost like they were having a conversation with each other rather than with the governing body, so it's your prerogative.
All right, Ms. Fields, if she wants one more bite of the apple here, but two is, I think, is enough for anybody.
Okay. Lisa Fields?
I just wanted to bring up one more thing that was an ask of the council. You asked what other.
Name and address for the record, please.
Lisa Fields, 301 Dolphin. I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to answer on previous meetings, there was a request of the council, like what would take to inform you, change your mind, or bring this conversation further along, was to bring an expert in. We could bring further experts in. But the second thing is with other local businesses, local municipalities, and Megan Maskell just talked about how Ocean City has just adopted it. Also Longport, I just want to give you another town that's local to us that has adopted an organic land care policy. So it's Ocean City and also Longport. That's it.
Thank you. Dana.
Seeing no more hands, we'll assume that, excuse me, public comment is over. Somebody like to make a motion to close public comment?
You don't even have
You don't
to.
need
Dr.
to motion. You can do
Oh,
that.
I'm so used to making motions tonight. Okay, then I guess we come to our final remarks by council. And Dan, by virtue of the A, you get to start us off as always.
Okay, I don't have too much to say today. I mean, I thank everybody for their comments on glyphosate and the cannabis topic. I am looking forward to hearing more on both topics from people in the industries themselves, scientists and financiers and things of that nature. And hope everybody is enjoying the weather lately. It's finally warming up, so kind of. And I hope everyone's having a good time. Thank you.
Jamie?
Yes, just to echo what Councilman Allen said, thank you for your input, thank you for the public comment, and to continue the discussion on these topics that are very important to all of us. And also, one of the resolutions, I just wanted to thank the Beach Haven Operation of Emergency Management for continuously getting us that Class 5 rating and giving us that 25% on our flood insurance, which really, means a lot to all of us. So thank you, Trumps, and the rest of the Beach Haven Operation of Emergency Management for your continuous hard work with that. That's it.
Thank you. Nancy?
Well, thank you, everybody, for your input. It's much appreciated. I did meet on Zoom with a group that's called Non-Toxic New Jersey, and they were very helpful. We talk about that at a more organized time. But instead, they recommended that instead of basically having a resolution or an ordinance outlawing specific chemicals that we follow some guidelines that they've established. And because basically what Dan was talking about last time, that when you ban one chemical, then another chemical comes up and it becomes a revolving door, and so there's a better way of trying to make this a healthier environment. And I think we can do that. I do want to also put my 2 cents in for cannabis. I really think it makes sense to have a delivery business for cannabis in this town. I think it would bring a lot of money into the town. We are a family town, but we have more bars than any other town on the island. And actually, we have these bars because they were established before the Liquor Control Board set up a formula as to how many bars you could have based on the full-time population, the residential. If we were to do it now, we would have no bars in our town, virtually none. And I really think cannabis is going to come in the town whether we allow a business in the town or not. It's going to be here. We're going to have to control it. We don't want people smoking it on the beach and in public places. And technically, according to the cannabis law, that is not approved. But most of the people that smoke cannabis are a lot less rowdy, I think, than people that go out and drink and get inebriated in town. So I don't think it's going to really affect if we really want to be a family town, I think we should then maybe get rid of the bars and be a dry town. But I also, on a whole different note, most of you know that I'm very involved over at Stockton University, which is our closest university. And I want to tell everybody, I was so excited about this. The Stockton women's rowing team is very new. They've only rowed for a few years. And they competed in the Dad Vale, which is at University of Pennsylvania. And it's really the #1 rowing race in the U.S. Our women's varsity team won the gold. They won the gold. Our novice 16 won the bronze, and our novice 14 won the bronze. So little old Stockton, that's only had a rowing team for a couple years, won the gold at the Dad Vale. That means better than any other university girls rowing team. So go girls and go Stockton. I was so proud of that.
Thank you. And Chris?
So I do appreciate everyone's comments regarding the glyphosate. I've also had conversations with Ms. Fields outside of here to talk about her concerns, and I did appreciate everyone else's input. I guess my question to us, like, how do we continue that conversation without taking it in a public meeting? Is there a committee or whatever we can do so that it gives these people the opportunity to be able to speak to at least a handful of us? So if we could organize something like that, I don't know what that looks like, but.
Well, we did speak today with Bruce about looking at a plan, like an organic plan that we could adopt, that like Ocean City has an example on an ordinance, and Nancy's going to be talking with them and getting us a copy, and I think once we get that and we're all able to review it.
The other thing I've been reading is that they're banning on their public lands, they're banning on public,
right,
not private.
So it's not a ban.
Right.
It's not a ban. And you're right, it's public.
It's public.
We, in New Jersey, we cannot ban a resident from using whatever weed person they want to use.
Right.
But we can use alternative chemicals or whatever on public property, and we can set up educational programs, and we can get these for free for people to learn about how to deal with the weed control in a non-toxic way. We also can get training for our public works people that would allow them to spray our lands with non-toxic substances. A few years ago, I think I'm the only one left on council when this happened, we tried to get a couple of our public works people to take a course in spraying for weeds. And you have to be certified to do this because you're dealing with toxic chemicals. And we couldn't get one person in Public Works to take that course because they didn't want to do it because they thought they were endangering themselves and their families. So that's why we hire somebody to do it. But if you're using non-toxic substances, I think we could convince a couple Public Works people to take that course and then take care of our ball fields or wherever we need to keep the poison ivy down and that sort of thing. Also, when you spray along curb lines, which I think is illegal in New Jersey, I was told that the other day on this meeting, you're not allowed to spray toxic chemicals, you know, where the weeds grow up between the street and the curb, because all those toxic chemicals go right in the storm drains. So nobody's supposed to do that. You really need to use something non-toxic, particularly in that area. So yes, we wouldn't be banning anybody from using whatever company they wanted on their private property, but we would be encouraging, we would be using it ourselves, non-toxic stuff, and we would be encouraging people to try to get a more of a non-toxic approach. I think that's the only way to go.
Back to your question, I think that if we can start to look at a draft document, it'll bring it all back together.
Right, and that was what my statement was, to be able to do like some type of resolution or a draft document to talk about how we can be encouraging to people, because to Mr. Fields' point, we're not going to be able to stop people bringing in companies to spray. They're going to continue to do that 100 feet from your house. So, but how we do that here, you know, as a borough, but I do know that it's an expense to us too. It's, you know, so what does that look like as well? So I would like to see some of that and be a part of that too. So
thank you.
And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And I'm just the last one to go, and everybody, as always, has pretty much said it all, so I won't jump in except to thank everybody. And we will look into these things. And I also just want to mention again today that the grand opening for the Compassion Cafe is Monday, May 17th at 9:30 at Barry's Do Me a Flavor on Center Street. It's a very unique, one-of-a-kind business model. We're very lucky to have them in Beach Haven. And if you can get there, that would be great, and I'm sure greatly appreciated as well. Thank you very much. I guess now all we have to do is adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.